Welcome back. My name's Tommy. I'm a painter and a drawer, and today I want to talk about drawing. Specifically, the way that I create a structure that I can develop a drawing on. In my last video, which was also my first video, we did a really simple drawing exercise, contour drawing. It's a good place to get started. A good place to get started practicing. But there are some practical problems with starting a drawing this way. If you watched the video and did the exercise, you may have noticed that things didn't always fit together. Proportion, placement of those small shapes that we were drawing didn't always line up that well. You know, this kind of thing. When I was doing this contour drawing, it was just a bunch of little tiny shapes. In fact, you might not have even recognized what the hell you were looking at. What we need is some sort of a structure underneath, a guide. So let's talk about thinking in 3 dimensions. When you're drawing from observation or from your imagination, you're having to translate a 3-dimensional form down into 2 dimensions. Say you were going to do a drawing of a ball, a 3-dimensional sphere. And if you think about this logically, a drawing of a sphere reduced down to 2 dimensions on a flat piece of paper is going to be a drawing of a circle. Now, if we try to do that with just an outline, that line is sort of an all or nothing. Put the line in the wrong place and our ball doesn't look that round anymore. So let's try a different approach. Forget the drawing for just a minute. Imagine a ball. Let's make it one of those big yoga exercise balls. And then inside it, we're going to put a smaller ball that can roll around inside. Now let's imagine taking that bigger ball and shaking it all around. Roll it around in your hands. As you do, the little super ball is going to be flying around in there, creating a path. It's going to be making big motions, swirling around, sometimes catching the edge, and eventually the combined aggregate of its entire path would define the volume, the form of that bigger ball. And that's just what I'm doing here. With a continuous, light, quick, intuitive mark, I'm imagining that I'm filling the volume, the form of a 3-dimensional sphere. Sometimes it might roll along the edge and define part of it. Sometimes it might fly across to the other side. I'm searching out the form with the mark that I'm making. When I'm done, if I like, I can use that searching line as a guide. Maybe selectively put some contour on it just to bring it into focus a little bit, to clarify it a little bit. And that's my basic approach to using my imagination and a searching line to create an underdrawing. The key here is that I'm focusing more on what I see than what I think a drawing of the thing is supposed to look like. When you're looking at something that you're going to draw, it might help to imagine that it's clear enough that you can see inside it, that you can see and imagine the entire form. Back to the horn. Let's sort of mentally get back from it a little bit. See it as one whole form without focusing on the little shapes. What I'm doing here, really just to illustrate the way that I'm asking you to look at this, is using a piece of vine charcoal turned on its side so it makes a broad, soft mark. I want to see big shapes, so I'm avoiding making slow, careful lines that will take my eye just to small, specific places. For right now, let's keep it big, broad, and general. Let me do another one. And as I do, I'm going to consider the horn as one whole complete thing. When I'm drawing the bell of the horn. I'm considering where it is and how big it is relative to the rest of the horn. Drawing quickly is just my hand following my eye as I consider the whole subject. If I slow my eye down, I'll tend to look at little details. The big idea here is that we're imagining 3 dimensions, even though we're drawing on a flat 2-dimensional page. And we're considering that 3-dimensional form in the most broad general terms, not getting into little details yet. So let's use this idea and do another drawing of the skull that I used for the contour drawing video. Let me show you how this looks when I'm applying this concept to starting a drawing. Hold on. I think I just talked over the most important part. Let's rewind and watch that again. Now, if we assume we're trying to do a drawing of the skull with naturalistic, lifelike proportions, then the first marks we make are going to determine where everything else is. That's true whether you draw one little tiny shape or make a big loose light mark that suggests where it is, how big it is. I gradually moved from suggesting the entire form to the surface, imagining that my pencil is moving over the topography of my subject. At this stage, though, I'm still just suggesting where certain features I see are. If I feel myself getting too hung up in one little area, start looking at details, sometimes I'll deliberately move my eye and my pencil to the other side or just across the whole subject, because what I'm really doing here is checking proportion and placement. I'm not drawing what the shapes actually look like yet. So I'm about a minute into this. Here's what I've got so far. I've drawn really lightly. In fact, let me digitally darken this up some so we can even see it. That's good enough for me to work with. As I keep going, I get gradually more and more specific. I play this little game with myself where I try to never let my drawing get to a point where I couldn't do a little more. To do that, I try to build the whole thing gradually, not let my attention get too focused into one area, especially not this early on. There's a commonly used term in art that applies to the things that I've been talking about and showing you so far. The term's gesture. I've avoided it so far, but I'll probably get into it when I do a video about figure drawing. It's a better way to explain that term and what it really means. I'll stop talking for a minute and let you just watch this drawing develop. Well, we're almost at the end, and that's a good thing because that's all the relaxing music Andrew made me. I did actually work on this drawing a little bit more. I'll show you a photo of it at the very end of the video. And I'll probably post a video of me doing the drawing in its entirety. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see it in real time or the sped up ADHD version. If you'd like to see some of my work, you can find me on Instagram at Tommy Van Awkward. That's all one big awkward word.